In my Balinese cuisine series, I spent a few days in Bali and learned how to make some of their most famous dishes. And if you watched a bunch of them, you'll notice that many of them are based on pastes made with spices. Well, today I'm gonna make Basa Genep, a paste that is the basis of many dishes like grilled meat, stewed curries, fried rice, and fragrant soups. In Balinese, this paste is called base, sometimes also called bumbu, and Genep means complete. There are also more specialized pastes called basa bipasi for fish and basa bisiap for poultry. I'm so sorry if that pronunciation is off, but I'm doing my best. But if you're interested in exploring other pastes, let me know in the comments and we'll explore these together. But for now, we're just gonna make basa genep, followed by using it for a nice pumpkin and lotus root curry. But in a later video, I'll use this exact paste to make an amazing roast duck dish called bebek bututu. Now, I'm not an expert in Balinese cuisine, but I learned what I know from a master chef named Chef Ari. He's the head of Balinese cookery at the Ayana Resort there. So don't take my videos as some ultimate lesson on how things are supposed to be. I'm just a guy from Detroit cooking this food at home and I'm enjoying it a lot. Not only is this paste bright and flavorful, but it's been a huge part of my fitness journey. You'll notice that all of these ingredients are spices, and incredibly healthy spices like galangal, lemongrass, ginger, and turmeric. Nothing here is overly calorie dense in any meaningful amount, but at the same time, the stuff is magical when used to marinate some chicken for the grill or some vegetables for a curry. It can make anything taste like $1,000,000, and it's pretty easy to make after you get all the ingredients together. And finally, maybe most importantly to some of you, it freezes for months. So you can make a bunch and use it for your entire grilling season or your entire stewing season. Anyways, I've talked enough. Let's get cooking. Now, you will notice that the first thing that I did was take off my nice shirt. You don't wear clothes that you like, especially if they are white, when you are dealing with turmeric. Turmeric stains and it will not, absolutely will not come out of anything you wear. So yeah, get into your hoe era. We're working with turmeric. Now, making the paste itself, luckily, is extremely easy. The hardest thing that you're going to do here is try to assemble all of your ingredients together. The things that you might have trouble finding are, for example, lemongrass, galangal, and fresh turmeric. All of these are very, very important to the dish, and it's really important that you get them fresh. So if you're unable to find these, you're kind of out of luck. Now, the other thing you might have a hard time finding is this. It's called terasi udang, a dehydrated shrimp paste. It is extremely pungent and extremely strong. It comes in like these single serving pucks, or it comes in like a bigger size that you kind of like chop up. An alternative that is easier to find might be either Thai or Filipino shrimp paste. It is not a one-to-one replacement for this, and it doesn't taste the exact same, but it'll do in a pinch. If you are plant-based, just use the funkiest thing that you can think of that you use in place of shrimp paste or fish sauce or whatever. That will have to do. As far as preparing your ingredients go, a lot of Balinese cooks believe that there is flavor and complexity in the skin of whatever it is you're using. So like the skins of turmeric or ginger, even the galangal, you're not supposed to completely peel them. You should wash them, which is why I recommend using something like this. This is a coconut bristle brush that I use specifically for vegetables. That is great in this case because you want to scrub off all of the stuff off of whatever it is you're using. But we will be preparing lemongrass and the galangal a little bit differently rather than just use them fully, because these things have to be cut a little bit. Now, in both cases, when dealing with galangal and lemongrass, they are quite fibrous and tough. I would not use, for example, your most delicate sashimi knife when dealing with either of these. Somewhere in the middle of like a butcher's cleaver and a chef's knife, on the blunter end but still sharp enough to cut through things, is the ideal knife to use for this. There are pretty much 3 parts to lemongrass that are useful. This part out here, generally, like, this is not great. There's not a lot of flavor in this, there's not a lot of aroma. Maybe like I might have been a little too Like that is quite useful. This can be used in some dishes. This I would probably put in my yard because it is like a pretty effective pest repellent. The more tender middle part here can be cut and sliced and directly added to dishes. Just make sure you slice them real nice and thin, and these can be added to stir fries and soups or whatnot. But what we're going for here for the paste is like the base over here. This has the most aroma and the most fragrance, and then we can actually save the rest of this stuff for a different use later. The next thing that we are going to use is galangal. Galangal is related to ginger, and it kind of looks like it. It kind of looks like alien ginger. But in a way, it's like opposite to ginger. Whereas ginger, I feel like is bright and warming. Galangal has this great like kind of menthol cooling effect. Galangal's got some really extreme like woody stalks that like stick right out of it. And if you don't have a food processor that is, or knife that is up to this job, I mean like look at that. That is like, they stick right out. You only need about 200 grams of galangal, and some of them just cut off like super soft like that. That is pretty much it when it comes to what we had to do to prepare to just blend everything together. Pretty amazing. Well, the first thing we're gonna do is like work on our dry spices. We have here some sand ginger. This is related to galangal in the sense that it's called lesser galangal, but I haven't been able to find a fresh version outside of Indonesia. So this will have to do. It's kind of got a medicinal white peppery flavor. You can easily find this in a Chinese grocery store. So we're just gonna do 9 grams of sand ginger, about a tablespoon of ground coriander. That is a lot more, but it's fine. Nutmeg. Might be interested to see like nutmeg in a Southeast Asian dish, but Indonesia is where nutmeg came from actually. So it's pretty cool to like have that association, even though I think of nutmeg with like sweet potato pie. But no, nutmeg is originally used in this cuisine because this is where it came from. About 2 teaspoons of ground nutmeg. There we go. That should do it. Tablespoon of black pepper. This will also work in conjunction with the turmeric to make it super healthy. Turmeric has anti-inflammatory qualities to it, but the curcumin, which is what makes it good for us, is only like truly digestible or absorbed when it's paired off with black pepper. And this is not traditional, but this is like my little addition to it, is a tablespoon of garam masala. I just like the warmth and richness of those like spices that are in there. And then we're just going to sand ginger. We're gonna put the terasi udang directly in the blender because if we put that in here, this will not stop smelling of shrimp paste, and you don't want that. For the order in which to put everything, I'll do the dry spices first. All right, after that, you add in your tougher stuff and start off at a rough chop. The lemongrass. Now I'm gonna add the turmeric. And I'm going to avoid putting liquid as much as I possibly can in this. But if you absolutely do need to use some kind of liquid, I would recommend a little bit of liquefied coconut oil or coconut water. So now we just have the last couple of things. Shallots, chilies. Ooh, immediately extremely pungent. Even like, though I love this stuff, it does not smell great. I don't love the smell of it. I love the possibility associated with the smell. But mixed into this, everything's beautiful. There's one more ingredient, super important. This is kaffir lime leaf. I keep it in my freezer. You buy it at the Asian or Southeast Asian grocery store. They look like this, and they smell like heaven. They smell like lime candy in a way. All of these ingredients are super important. They do sell them dried, but obviously fresh is better, or frozen. Some folks will say that, you know, you can only make this by hand using a mortar and pestle, and I will, chilly air. I will say it probably does make a difference, but not enough of a difference that I won't do it this way, because this way is very easy. I forgot something because of course I did. Sugar. This is palm sugar, and it is very important to all Southeast Asian cuisine, and I've seen it in Indian cuisine as well as Chinese cuisine as well. It's great stuff. They come in these little tiny pucks and they're super cute. I was supposed to smash these with a mortar and pestle after I added the spices to the blender and then added the sugar, the palm sugar in at the end with everything else. You need about 65 grams of this stuff in that recipe, anywhere from 65 to 70 depending on how sweet you want it. It is very important. It balances out the terasi udang. It accentuates the floral elements of all of it, of all the stuff. It is important enough that I'm actually going to take everything out and just remixing it with the sugar in. Now, I'm not using palm sugar for mine because I'm watching my sugar intake. I'm using a substitute. You know, judge me if you want, that's just how I do. I'm adding allulose, which is actually better in this case because it mixes so much easier. It is a sugar substitute. It is not erythritol, and it kind of like will melt into this. You'll need about 2 cups of this stuff to match that amount of sugar. We are just about ready to get started on this curry, but before I do, let me talk about an ingredient that I also once again forgot to put into the paste, and now it is actually too late to put it in. These are candle nuts or kamiri, and I actually went through so much stress and hardship trying to get this stuff here to Detroit that I am just kicking myself in the ass for not putting it in. Luckily for me, candle nuts actually don't have that much flavor. They add a texture and a pastiness to the paste itself. There is a high amount of fat content in these nuts, but not all that much flavor. So yes, it has stuff to do with the richness of the Basa Genep, but at the end of the day, it is not ruined because I forgot to put this in. If you cannot find this, you can also use Brazil nuts. They can be used in the same way. You just put a couple of these into the blender as you're making the paste itself at the very end. That's probably why I forgot to put it in here. Do not eat these raw. So as with any curry paste, you want to activate it with a little bit of hot oil first. You want to fry these spices so you can open up all of the beautiful aroma that is in here. Usually when using this stuff, you would use something like a coconut oil because that in itself has a lot of flavor and aroma in there. But in this case, you are free also to use peanut oil. Okay, I got some more oil in here, got the pan all nice and hot, so we're just gonna add these spices in just to open everything up. And immediately, oh my gosh, just, that smells amazing. You got the heat from the chilies, you got the brightness from the turmeric, the terasi udang is just like so umami and rich. Now, as with any curry, the liquid that you can use is totally up to you. You can use chicken broth, you could use vegetable stock, you can use coconut cream, coconut milk. I'm gonna use coconut milk. This is about a liter. Let me just change it right there. There. Mix that in. Sorry, it was like set to like a blue moody light instead of like actually what it was. Now you can actually see the color of it. You can see that it's like developing this beautiful golden color that is like so indicative of so many things in Balinese cuisine. We're gonna bring this to a simmer. We're gonna let this heat up a bit, and then we'll add in the rest of our ingredients. Now that everything is heating up nicely and we've got all of the paste incorporated into the milk, we're just going to add our other ingredients here and just allow this all to cook together. I love using pumpkin, as a lot of you might know, because of the way that it cooks into liquids and stews and sauces. The fiber from the pumpkin will make this into a very nice, thick, velvety, silky curry liquid. I'll cover this and just let it stew the rest of the day, and it will soften and like sink in and be gorgeous. Lotus root is like the opposite. It pretty much will never break down. It always stays crisp. It always stays crunchy and delicious and sweet. This will probably end up, because of these two vegetables being in here, being a very sweet curry. So you might want to just add a little bit of salt and add a little bit of pepper to it, just to balance things out if this is what you decide to do, but not even mixing that in. I'm gonna let this all boil like so, and just leave it alone on a simmer for like 1-2 hours, and we will be back. Hi. Would you like to go for a run while we wait? I'm thinking that's a no. I just got back from a run and I am honestly just starving right now, and this looks so extremely good. I'm eating it with some Great Lakes wild rice, which I've been very into lately just because it's delicious and very good for you. Oh my gosh. It has like almost like the sweetness of a spicy custard in a way. It took so much from the pumpkin and the lotus root, both very, very sweet vegetables. Well, pumpkin is a squash. But you still have that brightness and the spice of the chilies, of the spices, the garam masala that's in there, everything. And it all just like falls apart into this glorious little curry. And honestly, it's so easy to add protein in this. Throw some chicken breast in there, throw in maybe like a lamb shank or some duck breast or just some shredded chicken if you just want to keep it simple. Tofu, tempeh, all of it goes in here. That is the beauty of Basa Genep. I hope you guys give this a try, whether it be in this form or in the next form, which we will do, the bebek bututu, the roasted duck. If you saw my previous camping series, I also used it to marinate pork belly and grilled that over a fire, and that was one of the best things I've made. It's so good, and it's just using this paste. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.